Welcome back. In our last explainer, we talked about global debt as, well, basically a kind of metabolic sickness. Today, we're diving into a really radical idea that builds on that, how Bitcoin could help heal our world, not with some big dramatic bang, but through a quiet, steady, parallel process.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Section 1, the transition dilemma. See, before we can even talk about the solution, we've got to understand the problem it's trying to solve. And it's a huge one, a high-stakes challenge that has, frankly, plagued civilizations forever.
I mean, really think about that question. How do you upgrade an entire civilization? Because when you try to change the core operating system of a society, its economic and energy engine, history shows us that the track record is, well, it's not good. Right? It doesn't matter if we're talking about an empire, an ecosystem, or even just a single living thing. Trying to rewire a system's core metabolism while it's still running is incredibly dangerous. The usual result? Total disaster.
But what if there was another way, a way to actually avoid that collapse? This brings us to Section 2, and this is where the idea gets really interesting, a parallel metabolism. The core concept here is that Bitcoin offers a completely new path forward, something we've really never seen before in history.
So what does that even mean? Well, instead of a hostile takeover or some violent revolution, think of it more like a parallel organism. It just grows quietly and steadily in the background, getting stronger and stronger until it's ready to take on more responsibility when and if it's needed.
The source material calls this concept the empty chair. And what's so powerful about this idea is that this new system, it doesn't demand control. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't even need big institutions to say yes for it to work. It just offers another path, one that anyone can choose when they're ready.
I love this quote. It just puts it so perfectly. Bitcoin is like a metabolic spare tire. The new system is built beside the old one, not on top of its rubble. And that offers a path to voluntary, peaceful change, which is a true anomaly in history.
So, that brings us to our third section, the gradual takeover. Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how does a shift like this actually work in the real world? How does a whole civilization peacefully transfer its core functions from one engine to a completely different one?
What seems to happen in about 4 phases. It all starts small with optional adoption. People just using Bitcoin to solve very specific local problems. But as they do that, it adds value and creates this increasing gravity, which makes the network more secure and pulls in more capital. Phase 3, this naturally leads to a decreasing reliance on the old debt-based system. And finally, you get this slow reorientation where civilization itself starts to realign around this new, healthier metabolism. It's a gradual transfer of weight that avoids those big, sudden shocks that make other systems crash.
Now, this is a really crucial point. A lot of people assume that for a new order to emerge, the old one has to descend into chaos first. But what this model suggests is that that's not a prerequisite. Bitcoin can grow and get stronger even in a stable environment. Now, those other chaotic things might happen anyway, but they aren't necessary for this process to start.
So to really get the importance of this shift, we need to put the two systems side by side. Compare the sickness with the cure. It's so important to see exactly what's being replaced and why. And here's what's fascinating. The transition doesn't actually start with money. It starts with energy. Why? Well, because energy producers are the ones who feel the stress of the old system the most. They have stranded natural gas or solar power they have to turn off, or just off-peak energy that the legacy grid can't use. Bitcoin can absorb and monetize that energy instantly. So they become the natural first adopters. It's a choice driven by pure physics, not ideology.
And this brings us right to the core contrast. On one side, you have a system that creates infinite claims on very finite resources. And on the other, a system that only creates claims on real resources. It's really a tale of two metabolisms, one pathological and one healthy.
And this comparison just makes it crystal clear, doesn't it? On the left, you've got a system that's literally consuming the future through ever-expanding debt. It's a system that punishes saving. On the right, you have a system that is anchored in the physical realities of time and energy, one that rewards saving and actually operates within the real-world limits of physics.
So where does this all lead? What's the ultimate long-term vision of a metabolic transition like this? I mean, what does the end game actually look like if this process keeps going?
And this right here is maybe the most hopeful and important concept for a peaceful transition. It's not a revolution in that violent, historical sense. The new system doesn't need to attack or destroy the old one.
It just gets outcompeted. The evolution is driven by what you could call superior metabolic fitness. Savings move first because they need stability. Then the energy grids adapt because they need efficiency. Then global trade shifts because it needs clarity. It's just this natural, logical progression toward a more reliable alternative.
It's like a new, healthier organ in the body just taking over the functions of an old, failing one. The old one doesn't have to be traumatically ripped out, it just becomes unnecessary. It becomes obsolete and slowly fades away.
And this final quote just captures the entire endgame perfectly. Civilization doesn't fall, it molts. It's not some apocalypse, not a collapse. It's a natural shedding of an old, outgrown shell to reveal something stronger and more coherent underneath.
Which, of course, leaves us with one last provocative thought. If a system can truly heal and transform itself this peacefully, by aligning itself with the actual physical laws of energy and time, what does that new civilization actually look like? What emerges from that chrysalis?